Thank you.
So I'm going to press the right button this time.
Call the meeting to order 7:01. We'll do a roll call, starting with me, Charles Funk. Garth, Paul Varga,
Garth Bean.
Jesse Burnham.
Jesse,
John Kopek.
John. And we have Garth. So for alternates, we have John and Paul, correct?
I'm not an alternate yet.
I was gonna say, I think John's a full member and I'm the alternate.
Okay, so John, you're full, right? Yeah, my fault.
Oh, God.
Garth is full.
Yes, I am.
Jesse's full. Me full. Okay, so we'll seat Paul for somebody.
Judith?
Angie. So we'll seat Paul Varga for Angie. Okay. Agenda item 3 is communications. I'll go over any communications that we have during the meeting. Is there anybody from the public that wants to make a comment? Good. Agenda item 5, approved minutes of regular meeting Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. The only correction that I have, and this is for Valerie, and this is not, but just so Valerie, you know, under new business, section A, the very last sentence, it says, Ms. Silversmith did let the board know that assessments of the town hall, Knowlton Hall, and firehouse for health and safety by CES, the engineering firm, has had the site visit phase completed, yada, yada, yada. I would like to add to that, in the middle of the sentence, assessments of the town hall, comma, Knowlton Hall, and then here's what we're adding, comma, senior center, comma, senior housing, and firehouse 20. So there were other, I wanted to make sure that the other buildings were included in that. Okay. Otherwise, I had no other corrections. Anybody else?
I thought it looked good, so I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Sorry.
I need a second.
Garth, I can do that. I'll second that.
All right, Garth, thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I think the only one that has to abstain, I believe, is
I think it's me.
John. Yep.
I'd
All right.
say.
So John Kopek abstains. All right, thank you. New business. Selectmen's update. We do not have a selectman here. My understanding is she's attending the Board of Ed meeting. And actually, I want to briefly address that. There was some little consternation that I've scheduled a few of these meetings in at the same time slot as the Board of Education. That was not done intentionally. So I will address that for next year. and make sure that we stay on the second and fourth week. That was sort of an oversight on my part last year when I was setting this up. So my apologies to those that are affected. New business 6B, review and take action on capital asset policy. I sent out to all of you the capital asset policy that we had Cheryl just clean up a little bit before we approved it. One of the things that was brought up at the last meeting by Jesse was some concern about the computers from the school and how those were being tracked, et cetera, and whether this policy had anything to do with that. As we determined at the last meeting, this particular policy doesn't really affect that particular detail. But I did reach out to the superintendent just to find out what's going on with computer tracking. And so my assumption is that Dina is here to maybe be able to speak on that directly. So Dina, if you'd like to speak to how you're dealing with the computers, how that's being dealt with. And I think the only other thing, if you don't know, that I did ask Craig Kreller, who's the superintendent, whether there's any sort of insurance or parent/student responsibility with any computers that are taken home. So Dina, if you'd like to speak to that, that'd be great.
Sure. I can tell you that all of our computers are being inventoried. Last year, we purchased a system that allows us to assign barcode numbers to all devices and to attach a tag to them. So now we are keeping an inventory. So we know what we have on hand, what's working, what's not working, what is out with families. As far as the devices that do go out to the families, we have insurance on those devices. If the student drops the device up to or breaks it in any way, shape, or form, the first 2 times our insurance policy will cover it and we will be able to fix or replace the device. If there's a third incident, then it would turn to be the parent's responsibility.
And do parents have to sign some sort of acknowledgement? Yep.
Yes, there is an acceptable use policy that addresses all of this. We actually, before the school year started this year, we reviewed that acceptable use policy and we strengthened it. So it's much stronger than it's been in the past. And so far, so good.
Yeah, great. And are you guys getting any pushback, or is, for the most part, do people sort of understand the responsibilities needed with equipment?
They understand. They do.
Good. All right. Jesse, does that clarify any thoughts that you were having last time?
Yes, that does. I just wanted to be clarified and brought up that the concern about having the computers not being greater than $5,000 in value, and hence they wouldn't fall under the capital assets, but they're certainly expensive enough that they should be, tracked. And I just wanted to make sure that
Exactly.
Like,
they are not cheap. So it's very important to us that we know where our devices are at all times.
Okay. So that helps. That clarifies my concern.
Great. If you
Very
have any
good.
other concerns, please feel free to reach out and we will address them.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As far as the capital asset policy that I sent out, that as most of you remember from the last meeting, on page 2, what we were trying to do is change the language to the asset having a useful life of at least 2 years, and under the items in general, we stayed with what was there, except for vehicles and machinery. We decided that the threshold should be 10,000 instead of 5,000. So those those things that we talked about last time are now addressed in this particular document. So does anybody have any other questions or concerns? And maybe what we should do, if somebody's comfortable, is make a motion to adopt this asset policy as presented. And in that motion, the policy would also be expressed that the policy will be in effect for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. So in other words, this would be a retroactive policy. If somebody wanted to make that motion and somebody wanted to second it, we could then converse a little bit more about any sort of clarity.
Chuck, Paul Vogel, I'll make the motion that we accept the policy retroactive July 1, 2021.
Thank you, Paul. Do I have
This is
someone
Garth.
to- Good.
I like to second Paul's because I like coming in second place a lot.
All right. Thanks, Garth.
And now I have a question, Chuck.
Sure.
Number 2.
Cheryl's not here because I know she's away this week, but I don't have the policy is actually great. I just wanted to clarify with her, or maybe you already know, that we're just upping the value of the initial, I guess, basically deduction. So in other words, if the vehicle's less than $10,000, we're going to expense it rather than depreciate it. But we'll
Correct.
still have we'll still have it as a capital asset. It's just the way we're handling the actual dollar value. Is that correct? Is that a correct assumption?
That is my understanding, Paul.
My understanding as well. I was kind of hoping Cheryl would be here, but I remembered she was away this week. So
Yeah, you know what I might do is just ask Dina, since she's here, if that resonates with her as well. I know she's not, necessarily the authority with our particular board, but she interacts with Cheryl on a regular basis and has to deal with this. So maybe I can ask Dina for a clarification.
That is my understanding of how the policy works and how I've seen similar policies actually be carried out as well.
Yep.
Could you
So
please,
Go ahead,
And
Valerie.
that actually plays into that computer thing. The computers obviously they fall under the $5,000 initial purchase, but you're still tracking them as a capital asset, even though they may be expensed or not, depending on how you purchase them. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that does, Paul, and from here, I'm seeing Dina nod her head.
Okay. I can't see because I can't look at that and look at the roads.
Yeah, I understand. Hold on one sec, Paul. Valerie, you have a question?
yeah, could you please state again your understanding of this policy so I can get it down?
Yeah, so,
It had something to do with the $10,000.
yeah, so the question is, capital assets, particularly in this particular case, we're talking about vehicles and machinery. It's still a capital asset if it's below $10,000. It's just expensed in 1 year, as opposed to being depreciated if it's over $10,000. So that was Paul's clarification question.
All right, let me just say that. The capital assets you're talking about are vehicles and machinery, and if a capital asset, and those capital assets are below 10,000,
Then it's expensed in 1 year.
as opposed to being depreciated if you've got, I don't know, I just can't seem to get it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Don't say it so fast, I can't.
It's
It's
a
okay.
tax thing, Valerie.
Yeah, no worries, Valerie, we'll get it. So yeah. So a capital asset that's below that threshold of 10,000, we just expense in 1 year. A capital asset, let's just say a truck. Let's say we bought a truck for $20,000, that would be above the 10,000, then that would be depreciated at least over a couple of years.
Appreciated over a couple years.
Correct. And it's, Dina, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong on this. If it's a really big asset, let's say it's a fire truck and it's, whatever, I mean, not that this, $700,000, then we could depreciate that over more than 2 years.
Correct.
Right.
You can, it can be depreciated over the useful life up to a certain point.
Right. Okay. So Valerie, these are just sort of minimums, and it's a policy that allows, we've never had a formal policy on this. So that's what we're trying to.
Well, I just wanted to get Mr. Varga's concern. And he was saying, is this correct, my understanding? And then he, I just could not get it down fast enough.
That's okay. We'll get it clarified in the minutes.
All right.
We'll get it.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Any other clarifications or concerns or questions with this?
I have a question, but it's more just curiosity than anything else.
Sure.
Pure curiosity. The periodic physical inventory, I just kind of sounds fun. I just wonder how often and what that really is. Not that it matters, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, good question, Garth, that I have absolutely no capacity to answer.
Yeah, I know. So later, next time.
Yeah, we'll hit
Sometime.
Cheryl up for that one.
Yeah, just curious.
Okay. So I believe we have a motion by Paul, seconded by Garth, to adopt this asset policy as it was presented at this meeting. And this policy will be in effect for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, new business, audit update. I did speak very briefly to Sean from King and King today. According to him, things are going swimmingly. He's very pleased and feels that this is sort of the first time in 3 years that it's kind of gone the way it's supposed to go. So, not that there haven't been a few little hiccups here and there and so forth, but overall, he's very, very pleased with the direction that this particular audit went. So that's my communication on the audit update. We do happen to have Dina here, and maybe if she's willing to or has anything to add, she could speak of the audit from her perspective and how it's gone for them.
I did have some back and forth correspondence with Sean today. And yes, the audit seems to have gone very well. We didn't talk about numbers per se, but we did talk about, the only item that needs a corrective action that is going to be on the audit report. And it's in reference to how several of the bank accounts through the Board of Ed were handled through software that isn't on par with Infinite Vision's. And the software just doesn't have the safeguards and everything. And it had been a point of the Board of Ed and the school to get those accounts migrated over to Infinite Vision's when they became live with the software. Unfortunately, the business manager who is here did not get to that task, and she left in March. And with there not being a business manager until July, it didn't get done. But I can assure you, as I assured Sean today, that those accounts have indeed been migrated over to the Infinite Vision software, with all transactions effective July 1st of this fiscal year, so that corrective action is effectively addressed.
Fantastic. Great. Yeah, that's great. That's good news.
I don't mess around.
All right.
That's great. Thank you, Dina.
You're welcome.
So I think that's what I have on that. The next new business is fiscal year 1920 annual report review with a motion to accept as a possibility. Interestingly enough, I had done this for Butch, which I'm actually glad we did. And unfortunately, he's not here today. Did anybody get a chance to look through the annual report, and were there anybody have any comments or things that they are concerned about?
Looked through
Good-
quickly, no
good,
concerns from me.
Okay,
Did,
go ahead, Paul.
I just wondered, did Butch actually get a hard copy of it to look at? Because
Yeah, I got him a
He
hard
doesn't have-
copy. I got him a hard copy of everything, including that report.
all right, because I know he doesn't have a computer, and he was the one who asked about the.
Yeah, it's why I had one specially made just for him. Just so I do have some things. One of the things, Jesse, so I guess this is for you. One of the things I think we should do is I think we should have our complete audit report in there. And what I mean by that is basically copying the one that was done last year. So the fiscal year 18-19 report. We had gone beyond governmental activities, which is where our current the current rendition that we're talking about tonight stops at governmental activities. It really should pick up page 7, 8, and 9 of our audit report, which is the financial analysis of the government's funds. So that would include, governmental funds, capital non-reoccurring, the general fund, yada, yada. So you and I can talk about getting those last 3 pages in, because then I think it makes it complete. So I think we should do that. We can talk to Amanda about just adding those 3 pages. And then the only other thing that I heard, and again, I know you've heard this from me, but I've heard it from a couple other people, that the 2 pictures, and I know this is silly, the 2 pictures, one of them is more flattering than the other.
Okay.
And I think the general consensus is to eliminate the picture of her sitting, the one that had Michael Gardner in it that we cropped out,
Okay.
and just going with that one photo of her. I think she's wearing blue.
Okay.
I have my instinct, my mother was
That's
a
really
photographer.
understandable.
Yeah,
I've
my
come-
mother was a photographer for like 25, 30 years. So
Chuck is cheating.
I kind of have a sense of these things over the years. And I just sort of feel we should simplify and go with that one photo. I think it's just a little more flattering of her.
Okay.
All right.
I did have Amanda crop that one and do the 2, thinking that if you enlarge one picture, it would either end up being distorted in that space, or she'd have to modify the text to wrap around the picture.
I see.
So, so I'll have to see what we can do, because I just didn't want to have just one picture and have it end up being small. That was my
Yeah,
concern.
no.
That's where I thought the two would fit.
I agree with you, Jesse. I think we need to get the proportions right, but let's see if Amanda can, work her magic and make the one photo look right on that page.
Okay.
All right. And then what I'll do is I'll touch base with you or her or some combination thereof to get those last 3 pages of the report in.
Okay.
So then the next question is the board comfortable passing this with those corrections left to Jesse's discretion? So in other words, if he gets the one photograph and he gets those last 3 pages in, are we all comfortable saying, yes, let's go ahead and call this a report? And if so, I need somebody to make a motion.
Well, what would we, I'm not on mute. If we didn't like something that some other department wrote, then really how much of it is our business?
Yeah, I don't think we can modify what other people have written. This is a report. We're just compiling what people have said, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So really what we're kind of looking at is maybe that very first page we just did, and then our own section.
Correct. And
yeah,
and also we're looking at the structure of the report, making sure that it has everything in it that we think should be in it. And that's where I'm saying that the audit report should be more complete than what it is now. So we'll just add those next 3 pages, and that's really the essence of what this report is for, is to get that information out and get it to the state. This is a state mandated report.
gotcha. Fine with me.
So is that a motion?
Oh my God, I've never made one though. I can't do that. I'm always number 2. Paul has to go first. No, okay. No, I can.
All right. Garth, this is really fantastic. So you're making a motion.
Yeah, my first ever, I think.
Do I have a second?
Just because he made the motion, I'll second it, Paul Varga.
Thanks, Paul. Any other discussion?
Hey, Chuck, just to make sure that motion is going to include that we're going to address the picture and then add the 3 pages, correct?
Right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I'm unclear. I really think we should add those 3 pages.
I think that's a great idea. I don't disagree at all. I just want to make sure it's part of that motion.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. Next agenda item is review expenditures. I looked at the expenditure report that was produced, and I have to be honest, I don't make sense of it. There's things that I'm not understanding how to read on this that I would really like to have Cheryl explain. And I don't know, we have Dina here, and I don't want to put her on the spot because this, this isn't her report. But just to give you an example, and again, I'm gonna state that I I don't know what I'm reading here. This is really the first time I've really read one of these reports out of this particular system. And the first line, if we go to the very end on expenditures, page 13, it says expended PTD 14,500,000 blah blah blah. Our original budget is 15,800,000 blah blah blah. So basically, we get to the very end and we've already used 92% of our budget. That does not ring true to me. So there's something here I'm not reading correctly, or the report wasn't printed correctly or something. So what I'd
I
like,
haven't seen the report, so I can't speak to the actual report itself, but what it sounds like is not that you've actually already spent that percentage. It sounds like those encumbrances have been made for the year. So it means that, you know, you haven't had your electrical bills for the year yet, but you've encumbered what you expect them to be. So
Okay.
without seeing the report, that's what I'm understanding, that she's already encumbered her line items, her expenses, her salaries, etc. And then what's left is what's left for discretionary set spending or emergencies or things like that. Again, I don't have the report in
Right.
front of me, but from what you're saying to me, and since we use the same software, that is what I believe you are looking at.
yeah, thank you. So I think Board of Finance members, I think what I'd like to do, I'm uncomfortable reviewing this because I feel like I really don't know what I'm looking at. And I need to understand this at a much better level than I am, because this to Dina's point, I can just pick the very first item on page 1, first selectman, is that it says expended PTD 53,000, original budget 60,000, amended budget 60,000, expended year to date 53,000. That doesn't make sense to me.
I think Dina's right, Chuck, but an explanation from Cheryl might help everybody understand it better.
Yeah. Because then the
the
next
same
line is encumbered year to date is 2,000. So again, I
did
need
the
to
same
understand
thing.
what
I
I'm
was like,
reading.
Makes sense, yeah.
All right. So what I'd like to do is just sort of table this until we have her here next time, if you guys are comfortable with that.
You want a motion to table it till next time, or add it to the agenda next time?
Yeah, we'll add it to the agenda for the next time. I like that idea.
Hey Chuck, can I just ask, you said page 13 and I see 12 pages. Am I missing something?
Well, that's a good question. All right.
And my page 12 says end of report at the bottom, so.
Well, I guess I have a special report. Yeah, mine ends at 13. So I'm unclear on that.
Okay, and what was that last on page 13? You were talking about
The grand
something being
total.
a sub. Grand total. Okay, so I have no grand totals. Well, no, I do have a grand total.
Yeah, maybe
But
mine's just spread out. Mine may be spread out a little bit more, so it adds an additional page. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, okay. So for my grand total though, percent used is only 19%. I thought you said 90%.
Yeah, interesting, because mine says 92%. Yours makes more sense.
We can just go with mine.
So I'm going to get clarification on this, and
Okay,
we're
yeah.
gonna address this again at our next meeting, because I'm uncomfortable with what I'm looking at here. So we'll review that. We'll have review expenditures again at our next meeting.
Sounds good.
All right. Agenda item 7, second opportunity for public comments. Anybody want to make a comment? Agenda item for October 21, 2020. is the regular meeting. Oh, not October 21. Where are we at? Is that where we at? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll have expenditure and revenue conversation. And then I'll figure out the rest of it from there.
Sounds good.
Remarks for the good of the board. I'd like to thank Dina for being here. That's fantastic. And her input was very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Either Paul or John, one of you guys really likes the next agenda item.
Did John hang up already or something?
Yeah, he's still there.
He's still there,
Probably on mute.
but I think he's waiting for you, Paul.
I'll move to adjourn.
All right.
Yeah, I pushed the wrong, I had already said a whole big spiel and I pushed the wrong button. So there you go. I'll second it.
All right. Thanks, John. John, did you have anything else before we adjourned that you wanted to say for real?
No, it was, no. It was
Okay.
just stupid glib comments about the motion. No big deal.
All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night, everybody.
Hey.
All right, good night.